I would like to introduce all the panel members. And first goes with Brijesh Deb. So Brijesh is actually a principal consultant at Infosys. He's an avid speaker for most of the conferences, and he's an enabler at the church community as well. So welcome Brijesh on a panel discussion. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you,
Uh,
Kar.
Yeah, Brijesh, do you have your video on? I somehow basically don't see you.
I have it.
Okay. All right. So Harsh, can you do the spotlighting, please?
Incidentally, I am also not able to see Brijesh's video. Brijesh, maybe you can turn it off and on once again.
Just turned it off and I turn it on again.
Yes, now it's visible.
Now
Okay.
we
Yeah.
can see you.
so let me share my screen. My screen sharing stopped unfortunately. So,
It feels like homecoming for me because ATA GTR is
Yes, your
very
baby.
close.
so I'll just quickly share my screen. I hope my screen is visible.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So we have Sean with us. So Sean, welcome again. And Sean is the director of product marketing and strategy at testtime.io, and a low-code, A-powered and test automation platform with a code flexibility. So he's probably he would be actually help us out on knowing that what codeless automation is all about, and probably he'll be sharing us thoughts on that side. We have Kushan with us. So welcome Kushan. Kushan is a technical specialist and passionate about the test automations practices. He is an award-winning global speaker on test automation with over 15 years of experience into testing. We have Sriram. So welcome Sriram. Sriram is associated with SLQ as a VP for Australia and New Zealand. And we have Aditya, so we don't need probably much introduction for Aditya, because still I'll just help introduce Aditya in a few lines. So Aditya, Adi as we call him, he's actually a steering committee member. Though he's a CEO of a service now, or probably a practice and even now organizations, but still he calls himself as a proud tester as he loves the testing. Myself, Karthik Dokai, I'm a delivery manager and account manager associated with Rapidops and associated with ATA GTR from past 3 events, and a couple of more events for ATA GTR for Agile Testing Alliance. So that's it. And I have Rituraj Patil with me, and he's probably an author, speaker, and whatnot. So probably I guess even Rituraj don't need much of an introduction on that side. So here we goes with the first question for codeless automation. Is it a fad? So I would
Karthik, you
think,
may need to unshare your screen if that's okay.
yeah, that's fine. Thank you. I hope my screen is unshared, right? So
Yes.
fair enough. Here we go with the first question, that is it really a codeless automation a fad? So probably if yes, then why and how? And if it is not, then it is yes, why and how both. So probably we'll go with the basic question first so that people can actually get a context, and after that probably we can ask more questions on that. So I would love to hear something from Brijesh, Sean, everyone. So Brijesh, over to you if you would like to answer this question.
He's our opening batsman.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Karthik. Codeless automation. Well, that's actually quite interesting. Now, before I talk about codeless automation, let me talk about some of the trends that we've seen in the industry and how the industry has reacted. Okay, so over the years, whenever we have seen technology going, any new trend that comes in is dealt with a lot of skepticism initially. Now, be it agile, be it test automation, be it AI, ML, everything. When it comes in first, people are like, "Will this work for me?" Probably not. That's how they begin. So when test automation started, way back in 1996, James Bach had written an article talking about the snake oil automation. Snake oil test automation. Is it a snake oil marketing or something like that? Okay, I forget the exact name of the article. But then from that stage in 1996 till now, automation has made a lot of progress, and James's view on test automation has changed. So I'm just quoting him as an example. And similarly, we have seen a similar trend with other pieces in technology. Now, coming to codeless automation, initially when people started thinking of codeless automation, people are like, "What do you mean by that? I mean, is it really codeless? Will it really work for me?" But honestly speaking, I don't think it is fad. I think there is a lot of meat in it. I think there is a lot of value because we are talking about a time when almost every customer wants to reach its end users as fast as possible. So if you just get out of the testing space and look at web development, you have seen a transition from the PHP coding days to coming to now Wix and platforms like Wix and so such platforms where you could just do drag and drop and make a website within like 15-20 minutes. So if that is possible in web development, what is wrong with testing or test automation where you could just do a plug and play and use record playback and all the amazing other features that the tools provide to actually make it work. So I don't think it is fad, to be very honest.
Okay. Thank you so much, Brijesh, for this beautiful insight. So I would actually go to Kushan. Kushan is actually working day in and day out for this codeless automation stuff. So Kushan, can you please share your thoughts on that? You are muted, Kushan. I'm sorry.
Okay, everyone can hear me now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so for my 15 plus years in test automation, yeah, so as we just said, 10 years back, it was like, we were in the primary stage of test automation and we have grown so much that nowadays, even the clients, even if you're doing services-based, development, clients kind of, demand for test automation, right? To cut their testing budgets and the time of testing and everything, right? So test automation is kind of now an essential, key thing that should be incorporated with the testing practices in any organization or in any project. But yeah, so when I did some, investigation, and I currently I'm also using Tosca Tricentis, which is also a codeless based test automation tool. So when we come into codeless test automation, it's like kind of making the life of a test automation engineer much more easy, right? So when I go through codeless test automation, I mean, using test automation tool in both ends, I see good and bad of everything. So when we use a codeless test automation tool, yes, it will give us easy to automate a scenario, and we can automate a large number of scenarios. Basically, it will help us to accelerate test automation, right? So if we have 20,000 of test cases, we can automate it very quickly with a codeless test automation tool rather than getting a set of programmers, people who knows about coding and do test automation. So it's very easy. So we can take a kind of training QA engineers, knowing the tool and the features that it provides, we can start test automation. But when we go through the market of codeless test automation, why still the codeless test automation trend is there, the concept is there. Why it has not grown is because more of the codeless test automation tools are commercial based, right? So the Selenium, if we take Selenium, Appium, all those are provided free. People can, even a university student can, download them and, experience them. There are a lot of, community developed, so they can go through these YouTube channels and all these tutorials. And there is unlimited amount of resources available. So people can learn, get into this code-based test automation and they can practice. But the thing here is like when we get to codeless test automation tools, everything we have to pay. So clients, yes, there are clients who will be willing to pay and take the license and do codeless test automation tools. But there are a set of clients who are trying to reduce the testing budget these days. When it comes to an organization, they try to reduce the testing time, not the development time. So when it comes to that, they will not actually go to these paid-based tools. And the other thing is, because of these codeless test automation, you have to pay to get extra functions, features, and amount of testing times to practice. Then what happens is the community that is developed is less, right? You don't get a much amount of support. So when a say for example, engineer A tries to learn a codeless test automation tool, he cannot go to Stack Overflow. There are less amount of resources. He can go to he cannot do a search in Google and get a plenty amount of resources that is like normally available in Selenium. So then there is a constraint on these things. And when it comes to certain advanced level automation, like we don't get say go through a website, automate a website functionality. There are more advanced things that are happening, like image recognition. Okay, then we may have QR code validation. Okay, then sometimes we have test cases to execute shell-based scripts. Okay, so there are a lot of things that dynamic now. The codeless the thing is, the test automation has become so dynamic, right? The needs are more growing. So these tools, yes, we can basically go through, say some tools might provide cross platform automation, but some tools we are restricted only for web UI. So that's the other less the weak points that are there. Say these are the things that we should, even the codeless. I know there are people who are promoting codeless test automation in this panel, so they have to think on these dynamic areas also, right? And for my thing, codeless test automation is good when we have a set of standard test automation. A web UI we have to automate, a web service we have to automate. And we have a set of standard functionality, and we have 10,000 or 20,000, 50,000 test cases. And if the client says, okay, we want to automate this within 1 or 2 months, then we don't have to go through complex coding. We don't have to create a framework. It's already pre-built. Everything functions. So then this is highly good. In that way, we can say that codeless test automation is good. But but as a a person in code-based test automation, so I'm into both. So I'm not telling this is better, that is better. But when it comes to code-based test automation, everything is flexible. So if I want to do a QR code validation, I can get an open source library and I can download it and use it, and it's very easy. Okay, and so if you want to validate a PDF, you can go to Apache PDF Box library. You can integrate that into the library. So we can be more flexible when we go to code-based automation. But the bad thing we have is that people should.
Yeah, yes, Raj, please.
Give me like 2 minutes.
Yeah, so I just intervened because yeah, you tried to cover so many points there, but if I would like to summarize it in maybe 1 to 2 sentences, your opening sentences, then
the thing is what I'm saying is codeless automation. Yes, it's a new thing. It has to go a long way to go, right? Still, it's in kind of not a mature stage compared to code-based test automation. And if we are trying to go to a dynamic world where a lot of test automation challenges, still the code-based test automation is the option for the people.
Okay, thank you, Kushan, for sharing some insights on that. Probably a long insights, right? And probably a detailed insights on codeless automation. So I would actually go and I would love to hear some thoughts from Sean. Sean, what are your thoughts on codeless automation? Is it a fad or not?
You are on mute. You're still muted, Sean.
Sean, can you hear us? Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah, some really good thoughts, and I'll just say that like any new technology, and somebody posted the hype cycle in the chat, which I thought was one of the first things that came to my mind on this question is where does test automation fit in the hype cycle, codeless in particular. I think everybody agrees that automation is good and has a lot of value and benefit. And so, okay, so let's just put that aside. Everybody's good with automation. So then the question is codeless automation living up to the expectations? And I think in some degrees it's starting to. So there was a lot of expectations that were set early by the vendors that, you know, you could either have the tool write the test for you, or that somebody without any skills whatsoever could write a tool or write a test and not ever have to come in and touch it. And that just didn't prove to be exactly true. But things are getting better, and the tools are getting much more competitive with the automation frameworks like Selenium, like the others. And so I do believe that they're catching up, and the expectations are starting to be met a lot more frequently. And when you're delivering value, I think that people see that it's a trade-off between you know, the human cost that you're spending, you know, how much time, how much effort are you spending to write these tests, to maintain these tests, versus can I have a tool do that for a lot less money, and can it execute those tests a lot faster, and can it do everything that the codeless tool can do? There's gaps, but I think it's getting there. And so I don't think it's a fad. I think we're getting close. You're on mute.
You're on mute.
Yeah, a nicely summarized way of looking at the things. Maybe we would like to jump on to you, Adi. Maybe you have some different view.
I thought maybe we will give a chance to Sriram. He was itching to go as well, but
let
me add my. See, we
audience thinks that
we are
only
seeing a lot of
discussing
chat
on the
questions
pro
and all.
side of it.
So
Yeah.
I'll give my thoughts. Okay, I'll keep it short. Okay, according to me, it's a fad. Okay, I will not mince word, and I will just keep it very simple. Okay, sorry Sean, sorry Sriram. I'll tell you why basically it is a absolute fad. Okay, my reasons are simple, very simple. Okay, if you think about a codeless automation tool and you give it to somebody who does not know coding, do you think he would be successful? I would say no. Why? Because I've seen and I have used couple of automation tools, not Testim and not XLQ, by the way. I have used basically certain, I don't want to name them. I have a partnership with them as well. But at a certain point, what Kushal was mentioning, that if you get stuck, okay, hear me out clearly, huh? If you get stuck, what happens? You can only solve those issues by coding, or you would basically give it back to the product company, which will charge you millions and zillions to say, we'll give you this package now, you can use it. Okay. So according to me, how long does this fad exist? Okay, I understand it is a growing trend. It's an absolutely wonderful trend. Maybe we are skeptical. I am a coder. I am being on the side where most of the people don't like the change. I am very happy to use all these tools. Okay, number one, I really want it to be given to the community. Number two, can this basically mean that anybody who does not know coding? So if I say that I don't know coding, can I jump onto it and I can drag and drop and all my automation needs will be answered? I would say brilliant, no need. But according to me, that is where the fad nature comes into it. It can be a value add. It can be something which can be extended. But purely if I call that as a codeless automation and you give it to somebody, like, for example, give it to my daughter who is in 12th standard, can she basically drag and drop and do automation without knowing coding? I would say absolutely no. I will rest my case here.
Okay, so maybe we should go to Sriram then. Let's see how he wants to defend on this.
All right. Hey, some great thoughts. First thing, what I thought is we should have started with Pallavi because she seems to know all the right answers already. Right? We should probably ask her the question, right? But see, the topic really is some of the things, right? So I understand some of the passionate, points from Kushan and from Adi, right? And as Sean said, without testing a lot of the tools, Adi, right? What I want to tell you is that try XLQ, right? Actually try Testim as well. You would see that we're already there, right? Most of the way as to whatever is required, we can already do. Right. So I think rather than going and saying that based on set selection of tools, we don't have the complete ability required. I feel like we need to explore more to find out if there is enough coverage. Right. Now, regarding support, most of the tools, or almost all the the major tools you would say comes with support. There are universities, there are Axle Key comes with free support, free upgrades, free patches, online support. There's a knowledge base, support portal, academy, right? So there's all of that information available, right? Obviously, it's we've been about 7 years, so it's not quite as long as say Selenium. But having said that, your needs are also going to be that much easier, right? And the other thing as well, and Sean would agree with me, is I don't think it's black and white where you go codeless means you don't write code, right? Or you don't need to write code. Codeless is just giving you it's more low code solutions which solves a lot of your common issues quite easily, right? So Kushan said something like, hey, look, I could go in and if I wanted to automate a PDF, I can go there, I can look for Apache PDF and get it, right? Kushan, you're an expert, mate, you know where to look, right? But if you look at all the latest in the last few years, the research done by a major Gartner and Forrester and Forbes, etc., the top concerns that comes about test automation now is availability of skilled people, right? That's about 40% of respondents. That's where they're at. And the second one is the speed at which automation can be achieved, right? The ROI part has actually dropped way off, right? So if you go 5 years ago, ROI was a big question when you talk about automation, whereas now ROI is a distant third at under 20% of people being worried about it, right? So everyone knows that we need to get there faster. So whatever is the most efficient way to do it is what we need, right? So and also we're thinking like test automation is almost a separate thing from development, right? So technically, if you're saying coded automation, you are talking about developing your automation scripts. And if you look at, do you want to call Salesforce a fad, Pega a fad? Do you want to call OutSystems a fad, AppSheet a fad, right? I don't think so, right? So the codeless development is the way to go. It is all of the major estimates are that within the next 5 years, there'll be 60% of development will be done using codeless development tools. If that is the case, why is it that codeless testing cannot be a reality?
So actually, I do have one question for the one actually who are in support of a codeless automation, right? That whenever we are talking about codeless automation and the testing, in that case, when it comes to testing, is it only the tool which can be done faster? Because there is a lot more things needed for testing any of an application. It's not just the code or probably in codeless automation, right? Because we need a thought process behind it, how we need to test an application. And the one actually who we would be actually aligning a codeless automation tool to anyone, right? But the one who is not probably aligned to that testing line, in that case, they might not be able to do the justice. Any thoughts on that?
See, Karthik, what codeless automation tools allow you to do is worry less about how you automate and you worry more about what you test, right? So that gives you that flexibility, right? And to your part, your question, Adi, is codeless tools can allow your daughter to automate your testing if she knows what she needs to test, right? There are tools in there that makes it absolutely easy to do, right? And that's where all of these AI and ML implementations and the frameworks come in, which not everyone, except for experts such as yourselves and the passionate advocates, not everyone has access to those, right? So you would at any point in time, when someone takes a website and they want to click using Selenium, everyone is writing 2 lines of code. It's the exact same 2 lines of code millions of people are writing right now. Why do we need to rewrite it if you can do it as a drag and drop or a simple automatically generated piece of logic? So it allows you to focus, allows everyone to focus more on the more complex problems.
Any thoughts, Aditya, on that side?
Yeah, so obviously there are other panel members who are reaching as well. I could see Brijesh and Kushan as well. I raised my hand as well. Thanks, Karthik, for letting me speak. There is basically a thin line here. So I first of all would like to say that yes, you guys are doing awesome. Okay, so there are no questions. We're not pulling you down. Both Test Team and XLQ and maybe there are others as well. Wonderful tools, and I think you are part of the trend. We all love these trends. But I have 2 things against the entire system. Okay, one, first of all, let's start calling it as low code. If you accepted it in the panel itself, it is not codeless. So why do we even start calling it as a codeless when in public we know coding is required. I'm happy if we say coding is required. If we say no coding is required, then we should say no coding, and then let's debate on that. Okay, so my problem is with the name itself. Codeless versus low code, number one. Number two, when we say low code and we say, okay, all these nitty-gritty small things can be done by people who don't know coding, and then we have complex problems where we would need your help or we would need coding expertise. This is where my other problem comes into play, because you are again segregating between low code skilled laborers or unskilled laborers or unskilled testers. And then you have basically all the experts who would basically sit behind the back and solve the problem. So we are again creating something which is basically not right. We have to go back to the history. We have seen keyword driven frameworks fall apart very badly, and the extended codeless automation is nothing but basically like a packaged keywords which are basically drag and drop keywords. You instead of calling that as a keyword, you can drag and drop and say, okay, this is done, this is done, this is done. But the real problem comes when that doesn't work. So my problem is that if you get stuck, what happens next? I agree, it can speed up the basic automation. It will help you do things faster. It will do many things which probably it will take more in other things. But if you get stuck, you get stuck. That is where my second problem is.
I would reach out to Brijesh. Brijesh, if you can share some thoughts on that front.
So thank you, Adi, for actually making my point. It's absolutely, you don't say codeless meaning no code. So that is why, whoever coined the term already put a caveat saying it's low code, no code. Okay, they simply don't call it no code or codeless at the first place. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if we are thinking that, okay, just by using one such tool, it'll solve all your problems. Well, I don't think so. Okay, it's not going to happen. Okay, it needs a combination of the power of descriptive programming as well, if I may put it that way. Okay, because like Kushan said, and like Adi also said, that there are situations where you need to be able to be flexible enough in trying to deal with the larger problem at hand. And you're right, Adi. I mean, if there is a problem, we get stuck. What is the solution? But the point that I want to make here is, Sriram made a very good point. If we look at the landscape of testers, and I wrote about it yesterday, that while everybody is talking about automation and there are so many people who are learning tools, there are so many forums now available, everybody is doing, then why still there is a scarcity of automation testers in the market? And with that scarcity of automation testers in the market, how are you going to solve this problem? You need a solution. And that is where these tools come, and they give you a head start. Okay, they will not solve your problem entirely. There is still a lot of place where you would need to be able to, augment it with descriptive programming. You need that extension. So to say that all your problems are solved, probably not. Now, talking about the tools that we have, I mean, we have TestIM and AxleQ. And whatever I know of AxleQ, the basic approach, because I spoke to Guljeet Nagpal a few days ago as a part of an AMA, and he's the product owner behind that. And he shared his vision saying, the basic approach taken in building such a tool is to go with a design-based approach, which is the foundation of your code-based automation as well. You look at, you design it well so that it tackles a lot of your problems. So a similar approach has been taken in building these tools. And there is a lot of underlying code behind whatever we call as codeless automation tools. Okay, right. So it is solving a large gamut of your problems, not everything. Okay, so that is why I mean, I kind of agree with what you said, Adi, but not entirely. So yeah.
So since you mentioned about the scarcity of automation testers, there is a really good question which is being asked, a concern rather, by Mahesh in the attendees. He's saying that since it is codeless, why do we even need humans to use that tool then? Let's build a bot that can make use of the codeless tool and then get going with the automation. And codeless or code, what is important is always human touch, right? So human thinking to understand what kind of automation is needed and where. So would like to add anything on that?
Ruturaj, the day a tool is able to think, is able to ask questions, is able to analyze, and is able to give you feedback
and also debate.
give you feedback and debate in a forum like this.
So I think
we would have addressed.
I got to your point totally. Maybe I have asked this question to wrong question. We should have asked this question to either Sean or Sriram.
See, I think the thing here is, right, so we are talking about a tool, right? We're not talking about a codeless tester, right? So it is just a tool which enables you to achieve automation codelessly. So we just give you a tool to achieve your outcomes, but we are not giving you the outcomes. We're not doing the outcomes for you. Right, we give you efficiencies. Obviously, as a tool, we can, we can use AI and ML, and we can learn, and we can suggest, hey, by the way, you can increase your coverage here. This is your permutation combinations that you can do. These are your edge cases that you can add, etc. But still, it's a tool which just enables you to do things easily and with less, the coding skills required, right? So that's where I think where we seem to be. There's this bit of a conception about codeless automation, meaning, hey, it is all automated. I just input something and then it tests everything and gives me a report saying, hey, look, this is a bug, right? That's not what we are talking about. Codeless automation tools such as Testim and AxleQ, what we do is we allow you to express the scripts that you want to write, right? Whatever kind of flows that you want to automate, we make it easy for you to implement them, right? And we make it, when you talk about getting stuck, Adi, as well, and there was someone in the chat as well. So it is, you would find, surprisingly, that you get stuck less and less nowadays, as the platforms have evolved. So pretty much from an enterprise stack perspective, there is not much that can't be covered at this moment. And like Brijesh touched upon, Testim and us, I think we have a similar approach to that, which is we are codeless. You can achieve most of what you want to codelessly, but we do give you the flexibility to add code yourself if you get stuck and if you really do need it.
Agreed.
Sorry, Sean.
Yeah, Sean.
Sean,
yeah, happily to just tack on to that just really quickly. So I agree completely with Sriram. So it's not, and also Adi, I mean, I wrote a blog on our website about we're not really codeless, we're low code. Same kind of idea. It's codeless will get you the easy problems quickly, right? Will help you solve those so you can focus on the tough problems, like Sriram was talking about. And I mean, we've had customers come back and tell us that exact statement. It's like, instead of writing Selenium scripts to do something that's really simple within the tool and spending a lot of time, instead they quickly handle those with an automation tool and then focus on challenges they never could have done with Selenium because they were too complex. But the way I think about it is the automation is just a tool, and whether it's codeless, if you think about a car, we keep thinking that cars are trying to become more autonomous, but some person is still going to tell them, where to go, right? Even if you make the car completely drive there by itself, somebody has to give it some level of direction, or what's the point, right? It has to be to know where it's going to go. So it's a similar thing. There still has to be some human involvement, and we're a ways off. There's no question. It's not going to create your tests automatically, even if it does understand the flows that are happening based on user traffic, which is what some of the automation is trying to do, is trying to look at what are customers actually using in your website, and then try to build tests from that. It still then has to figure out, well, what are the right assertions? Are these the right, what happens if somebody doesn't go through the main flow of traffic? Are they going through other flows that also need to be tested? So there's a lot to be done, and we're just trying to move the bar a little bit further all the time, I think.
Can I quickly just because I saw somebody mention it in the chat, and I thought I need to bring that up. I saw Hanmant write a point out there, saying that why do we always consider happy path in codeless automation tools? That is something which I always felt myself. Okay. And when somebody wrote that out, thanks Hanman, because I'm looking at the chats as well while you're pointing it out. We have seen happy paths being very easily being automated. Okay. Just to give you an example, we did a automathon, hackathon we did, and it was an open challenge. People could use any tool. And the winners were always basically people who did coding, no codeless. We should again do it. And I would like basically both Sriram and Sean that you should participate in that challenge, and let's see whether we can really solve it in 2 hours. We say speed, but that is a happy path speed. What happens basically when you give some complex pieces? That is where I agree with Hanmant, and that is where I see that if you want to succeed, even in the tools what Sriram you have or what maybe Sean you have, you would have certain scripts that you need to develop when you get stuck. It is not that it is pure play, drag and drop, right? And that is where if there is a problem statement there and you don't have an outside, which Kushan mentioned that there is not enough help available on the outside, like Stack, like the platform that we have, so many community helping out. So maybe we need to have you guys also develop or basically help us basically in a mechanism that you have a version which can be a community based version, so that people start using it on a comfortable manner, and then that grows, and then people just a thought. Maybe I really don't know. This is where our problem has been when we were using it.
Adi, you're forcing me to give something away which I don't want to give away, and I won't give it away now. But then you will get some answers on that question shortly, right? But then just to jump on a couple of things about the non-happy path scenarios, I'm not entirely sure what you mean by them, right? So if you're talking about exceptions testing, or if your testing is you're expecting a certain behavior. If that is a positive behavior or a failure behavior, you can use codeless automation tools to absolutely do that, right? There's nothing stopping you from doing such a thing. And second one is, it doesn't need to be a binary all or nothing. So it is not say codeless, like Salesforce, as a classic example. It's becoming, it's a huge monster already, right? And the reason is that it does solve most of what you need. For about 80% of your problems, a Salesforce, one of the Salesforce products or a Pega product or an OutSystems product can solve it for you, right? You still are doing customizations on it. You're still writing any kind of custom pieces that you want to do. But then what you've now done is you've solved 80% of this problem, or whatever you need to solve in probably 20% of the time. And you get a lot more time to solve the other ones efficiently, right? And it's the same as if you put it on a bell curve. 10% of them are going to be unsolvable. 10% of them are going to be easiest to solve without any automation. Most of your any kind of effort is spent in the middle 80%. You take that away, right? And you just use your skilled people to work on just the other hard 10%. So it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. Say you're committed to a codeless automation tool. That's it. You don't do any custom automation at all.
So to add more, right? Can I speak, guys?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, sure.
Now, codeless test automation concept is not a very new one. It was like 3 years back, it was there. The norm came up, right? So my question is, why, if this provides a good, crisp, cool, features and functions, why still we are on a code-based automation environment? When we go into a company, right? When we go through the job description, just take in India, Sri Lanka, okay, in any country, when we go to the job description, 80% of the organizations in the IT sector, they ask for Selenium, they ask for APM, they ask for Rest Assured, right? So I haven't not seen a company which will tell, okay, I'm not going to hit a specific codeless test automation tool, but have they asked, you have to have this kind of experience. And another thing is, in company A, we might use a codeless test automation tool. Can we guarantee that it will be used in the other companies in the industry? Okay, so the thing is, that's my point. So codeless test automation, yes, it has started, but we are still at the infant stage of it when it compares to Selenium and other code-based test automation tools. Okay, so still now, even the other thing is, like, when it comes, if we are going to go for codeless, then the thing is, in the whole testing community, we can see in long term, it will be a non-technical community that will be built up, right? We will create a setup lazy technical people, QA people in the QA industry. So my question is, why still we have not seen a trend? No, I have been in WhatsApp groups in people who are used in India and other other organizations. Why have they not asked any question about codeless test automation tools? And the other thing is, when it comes to, when we are, like Adi told, right, when we get a problem, the organization which provides a codeless test automation tool, we have to rely on them rather than finding our own way to solution to solve the issue, because some of the tools, the coding is hidden. So then we have to rely on them, and if we have a kind of tight deadlines, then that will be a problem for the entire testing effort. So these are the things that, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. So that's my point. So if 3 years it was there 3 years, the test automation tools, right? Why it has not grown? It's easy to do for everyone, right? It's easy for anyone. You don't have to know coding. You don't have to, you can say less coding, right? So you can know less coding and why why it has not grown in the entire industry.
Richard, I would like to challenge that a little bit here, right? So I'm here because we are growing, right? Sean is here because we are growing. So the codeless industry as a whole has at least tripled year on year the last few years, right? So I want to contest the point. We're definitely not in our infancy, right? We are probably in our teenage years, right? We are playing the under-19 World Cup, right? You haven't heard of us now, but then in 5 years from now, you would have a Kohli batting in the international stage, and then you would know, okay, yeah, right? So the talent is already there, and you don't know about it just yet. And see, these are the kind of forums in which you're starting to hear about, right? And what I'm, expecting is that and it's a really good, I've got to say, and I'm not, buttering you guys up, but this is one of the much better panels I've attended. A lot of interest and a lot of questions coming, right, which shows that a keen kind of mind, right, an open mind. I'm hoping of these 200 odd people, a lot of you are going to go and try out some of the tools out there, and I'm hoping that next panel I attend next year, you're going to say, yep, codeless testing automation, you're already teenage years, why aren't you retiring yet? Right.
So by all means, Sriram, we really want XLQ and test team to be the #1. Okay, don't get us wrong. Okay, and you are already on the top. Okay, and absolutely the trend is there. Okay, so this is where none of us are against basically the tool, but the nomenclature #1, and the fact that Salesforce doesn't call themselves basically a codeless development tool. Neither does basically Pega does. Neither does basically ServiceNow does. I have written on my blog that ServiceNow. I have an organization on ServiceNow. We love that tool. It is almost drag and drop, but they have ServiceNow developers. Okay, they call themselves as developers as well.
But I'm more than happy to have XLQ developers. Don't get me wrong.
Absolutely, yeah. So just go with that. Okay.
Absolutely right, Adi. So development is not really a builder is a builder. You can go and start brick and mortar and lay it out, or you can get one of these, pre-fab bricks, and you can, build a house in a day, right? So still you're a builder. So you're just about, your standard granny flats. You can go and you can buy it off the shelf now. They can come in, bring a crane off the container, back of container, drop it. It's perfect. You have a flat block, right? And if that's your need. And that's kind of what we're talking about here, right? So if you have one of those slopy blocks and rocks and all of that, which needs to be clear, and you need an expert engineer to come and work on it, then you do need that. Yeah. So the nomenclature part, I understand where you're coming from, but then once again, I think what we need to take into account is when we say codeless automation, we are saying, and which is a fact, and Sean will agree as well, is that in our examples, at least, we can be very confident, hand on heart, and say you can achieve most of what you want to achieve without having to write any code, right? So you can achieve your automation without having to write any kind of code, and in the sense of any kind of programming language or knowing a particular syntax or anything to that effect. but you need to know what you're testing. You need to have the intent and the expectations. Your standard, now, any kind of testing is, I do an action, this is the expected behavior, verified, right? You need to know what you're doing. The codeless automation tools can help you get there without having to know a language or a particular syntax or something to do.
Can I just add
Yeah,
something?
Brijesh.
Yeah. So I think we are 50 plus minutes into the discussion. So I think we can all agree codeless automation is definitely a fad. Low code automation, not a fad. So let's call it.
Okay, at least we have parts in. We are trying
Brijesh.
to bring a middle path.
Yeah, no. So let's get the nomenclature right at least, because you
Yes,
spoke
yeah.
about nomenclature. So
Yes.
let's stop calling it codeless, because it is not. We know that there is a lot of code, and there is. Now, one of the problems that with test automation is obviously scaling up your automation. Okay, so we all are very happy when we do our proof of concept. We do 100 test cases. Let's try and automate, whether it is with a code-based tool or codeless tool, and when we achieve some success, we're like, yay, that's done. So I think we can tackle the mountain of 1,000 test cases or whatever, 2,000 test cases, and that's where the problem arises. But we are seeing a lot of these codeless automation tools, including AxleQ and TestM, with their TestOps feature, where they allow that scalability in your test automation. What that means is that with the normal, we were talking about workflows a bit earlier. So the happy path flows, I like to call them regular, normal, workflows. They can be dealt with quite ease, which helps you building up or lays the foundation for you to go ahead and build your automation on the alternate workflows. Okay, so obviously to get from point A to point B, you will have a path, and then you will have alternate paths to get there. Now, testing is all about making sure that you cover as many paths as possible, right? And that's where you're thinking of edge cases, you're thinking of what if scenarios. So, and that's where the human aspect also comes in. So it's not the tool entirely doing stuff, and you need somebody to be sitting, analyzing and building up using some descriptive programming, adding onto it, thinking of alternate workflows, adding it to the design, and especially working very closely with AxleQ. We are trying to build up a video experience report, and we've experienced that. Okay, as a part of the test chat community, we are working on it, and we see that a lot of these problems are getting answered. It's not that there are no answers. We need to look beyond, but at least the foundation is laid. And once the foundation is laid, your testing becomes easier, because one of the things that these tools do is make you think. Okay, because say, okay, this problem, I have partially solved it. How do I solve the remaining? Okay, what else can I do? Maybe I need to add some additional code. Maybe I reach out for help. Like you said, I mean, maybe we can have some AxleQ developer or an AxleQ engineer working with us in trying to solve our problems. So we think of alternate solutions, and that is where the real power of the community comes in. And that's where you get a lot of support. Now, we do not have a big Stack Overflow representation like some of the other tools may have, like for example, Selenium or anything like that. But I can tell you for sure that in the few years that I have been trying to experiment with these tools, I have seen the community is growing. We are still not there. We are like Kushan and everybody said that we are in an infant stage. In terms of codeless automation tools, there are plenty of them. There are new ones coming up every day, and we will get there. Is what I would say.
So I would partly agree, because see, guys, you guys need an applause. First of all, you guys are innovating. You guys are doing tremendously great. Okay, so all applause to you guys. Okay, nothing against it. Okay, it's just that there are certain things which probably would be there, would always be there. Pick up any tool, pick up any language. There are flaws everywhere. So it is nothing against that. It is just that I am little against with the nomenclature, which we all agree that there is little flaw there, just like any coding language or any tool can have. And also with respect to basically accepting that there is a lot more extensibility there. Inclusivity. I saw somebody mentioning that as a point is also something with, if we can have it in a different languages, maybe let people grow the libraries. You can have it an extendable model where people can write something in Python, maybe Java, maybe C#, maybe JavaScript. People will start getting comfortable with the tool and the ecosystem. That's how my thought lies, and I would like to applaud you guys and everybody who's doing innovation day in and day out.
Can I dare say something with both Sean and Sriram on the call?
Depends on what you're going to say, I guess, huh?
Yeah, make it open source, guys. Make it open source.
They said no, we don't want to give it free.
That is
No, we don't want. Okay,
all the hearts.
Brijesh,
I said-
okay. When Sriram said that he will not give it free, I said no, we don't want it free. Okay, absolutely not, Sriram. That is not what we demanded. Okay, that is not what our intent was. Never. Okay, I personally feel that there is a lot of effort, a lot of money spent in bringing a product, and it has come to a stage where you got 7 years behind, and maybe test team has 8 years, 9 years. I really don't know. Any product to be successful needs a lot of investment. Okay, and we need to support. But these are certain concepts. Okay, don't get me wrong. I'm a passionate guy, just like you guys are. And it is just that it comes out naturally. I really thought that in my panel discussion, I would let others speak. But somehow when things happen, I just jump in. Okay, I can't stop myself. I'm so sorry.
So I have
Adi, there is one point which comes into the discussion related to the pricing. I was just having a look at both the websites, pricing
Yes.
links. Says around $390 per month for XLQ, and then for test team, it says that contact us if you would like to go for a professional version of it. And then there is one more interesting question which is coming from Jyoti, where she's asking, like, from an organizational point of view, from a senior management point of view, the decision making point of view, how it fits in. Like, on the other hand, we have the open source options within us which we can explore, people can explore. So how to justify the cost? Maybe a question to Sean as well as
Yeah, so I'll happily start. And just to clarify, we do have some free options. So there's a community free option in our product, as well as for startups, that free option gets a little bit more valuable because we include better features and allow you to run more runs. But that aside, in terms of value, it comes down to time. And it comes down to resources, and it's a trade-off. Are you paying a vendor for some software? I mean, heck, we're using Teams, we use Microsoft Office, we use software all the time, right? Because it's more effective than not using software. And so, does it make sense to choose a vendor tool over an open source tool? We think it does, and quite frankly, because you can write a test in a couple of minutes instead of a couple of hours, because you don't have to go back and fix that test. Every time somebody makes a small change to some UI element, it fixes itself, and those are real things, especially when you're trying to push out releases, every day, and you need your tests to be able to run and self-heal themselves. And so that's where we see the value come through. And there's a lot of other overhead that comes with Selenium, right? You have to create your own reports. You have to everybody that's moved to test them from Selenium had a whole bunch of tests that they didn't know what was going on with those tests, right? And so they had all these tests, thousands of tests that just like, well, they fail and we don't know, we don't have time to fix them.
Sean, to add that point, okay, to be an open source person, I'm not going against you, but there are a lot of libraries that are written by the other people who will actually give the test automation reports, detailed reports.
Yeah, and I know there
not
are.
against you or any other organization. It's just
I'll just say that there's more than just the tool involved in the process, right? There's the people, there's all the stuff that goes around writing the tests and executing the tests that is also part of your cost consideration, and how fast can you test your software and get that software out so that you can iterate, learn from what's been deployed, and then make some changes and do it again. And so all those things come into the picture.
So I have a question for Sriram and Sean, that where does cordless automation fit into non-functional kind of a testing, probably a performance testing kind of thing?
Right, so
If you could ask again a little bit, I didn't quite hear it.
Yeah, I was just mentioning that where does a cordless automation fit into the non-functional testing?
Into non-functional. So I'll say that today it doesn't so well, but I think that there's a lot of potential. So so you think about a lot of the tests that are written, it's measuring a flow of a transaction from one user going through part of the application, and there are other things besides that can be tested from that same authoring of a test case, right? So you can test load, you can test performance, you can test lots of different things. I think that as these codeless tools start to get more complete in how they build out those tests, they will start to add those kind of capabilities that are more on the non-functional side. But today there's a lot of work still to be done on the functional side that is taking up most of the resources.
Just to add on that, Sean, right, and spot on. So, and I'm just going to speak a little bit about AxleQ in this sense is that with our latest release, we now functionally complete, right, from an end-to-end perspective, web, API, all kind of middleware, backend, desktop applications and, databases and all of that. And mobile was the desktop. Yeah, I did mention that, right? Mobile was the only one that was missing from functional perspective, which we kind of, resolved and filled that gap. And now our focus is on also addressing the non-functional ones, right? Let's say we've been, working on our biceps and our chest and the shoulders till now. I feel like we've gotten strong enough. So next step is to go and start working on those calves, right? So it's just a matter of time that we'll start addressing that. So if you're saying, can it not be done? And I think Brijesh mentioned that point, and I've actually seen that point made somewhere, right? Which is they said, hey, codeless is just someone else's code, right? And it was used in a pejorative sense, but I'm actually looking at it as it makes absolute sense to me, right? So why does everyone need to write the same piece of code every time if you can have someone write it, which is in a best structured way and best practices or whatnot, and you can reuse that prefab block, and you can focus on things that are unique for your use case, right? And yeah, so we will get to non-functional testing. We also have some of those aspects coming, and in build, and there are tools that handle that, right? And one comment on the pricing part of it, and Kushan, you mentioned, right? So if you wanted something, you can go into the open source market, you can find it, you can plug it in, etc. Let's say it's kind of like I want to go from here to the nearest shopping mall, right? I'm new, right? So I'm actually at San Jose and not Sydney, and I'll prefer the sunny Sydney, I feel, right? But then if I want to go to the mall, I'm new here, I would probably go and ask, I can ask for directions, and if I'm, a personable guy, they may actually give me directions, and I'll get there, right? I'll probably have to go and say, hey, right here, left there, etc. I can get there. I can call Uber, pay $20, and I'll end up at the mall. So both directions are going to get me to the mall. So I pay extra because it's going to get me there quicker, and it's going to give me surety. I can spend more time, thinking about how I can save money while I'm actually shopping.
Yeah, true. The ultimate goal is the same, but there are different paths, and then we need to explore based upon our needs, based upon our budget, based upon our priorities, based upon our skills, human touch, everything. Yeah, so by looking at the timeline, I think we are almost on time. I would like to quickly summarize this panel discussion in few points which I have noted down at my end. I know that it is a huge topic. It acts as an ocean when it comes to these kind of topics where anyone can share any thoughts considering different viewpoints and perceptions. But by looking at the things, definitely companies have started doing it, looking at the solution and solution offerings from vendors like Testeam and AxleQ. They are exploring the things around codeless automation, no code, low code automation, but still there is a long way to go. Human touch is always required. It definitely accelerates the speed of test automation. There is a huge scope for improvement when it comes to the wide acceptance, which is still missing. some problem related to the nomenclature, maybe the pricing effort which goes in, maybe the vendors need to give a thought upon that. And then the key thing which needs to be incorporated when it comes to codeless automation is that we need to take a holistic view of its suitability, capability, feasibility, desirability, and viability. And I think it is still an open question whether it is a fad or not. So maybe we would like to end up here, and then you can brainstorm offline and then think and put your thoughts on the social media platforms. Whether it is fad or not, it's up to us, and we will explore. We have a long way to go. So with that, I think we are okay. Anything you would like to add from your side, Karthik, Adi? Anything which I missed?
I think you summed it well. Karthik can say something. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, good.
I would like to thank. Just I could say that both Sean and Sriram, everybody out there,
Yeah.
Brijesh, Kushan. That's what. It was a great panel discussion. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for including us. Appreciate
Thanks.
it.
Thanks to all the panel members. Really
Thank you
good
so
discussion.
much for having me. It was
Thanks,
a great
Brijesh.
discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, and
Thank
hopefully
you.
we can continue this in some other means. It is something with what Rituraj really summed it well. It is yeah, debatable, but yeah, we really appreciate everybody's work out there. Keep going, guys.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.
Cheers.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.